So, you want to know how to grow some plants? Okay, this guide is built for TG Station and TG Station downstreams that are currently running the changed version of Botany. Many people don't seem to like it, but I think that's because they don't seem to know how it works. So I'm going to run down some of the basics and then eventually get into some of the more interesting new mechanics that have been added to the whole Botany experience, which I think once you get those down, honestly, the whole game becomes way easier if you're trying to do some of the cool new or older stuff with Botany. So let's start off with some of the basics. If you've never played Botany before, you want to use the seed vending machine to be able to go and buy packs of seeds. I'm going to go and grab some of the easy seeds. We're going to grab some wheat, we're going to grab pumpkins, we're going to grab bananas. Once you have your thing of seeds, you need to go and plant them within the actual hydroponics trays. You can either use mechanical hydroponics trays or you can use dirt plots for hydroponics trays. You want to take them and on any intent just place them within the tray. If you see this is just something that's currently in the code base. Give it like a month, it's either going to be fixed or reverted. But if you see this, don't worry. It just means that ordinarily it's invisible when it's planted. Something you should know about hydroponics trays is that there are 5 little notches at the bottom here. All of them are different lights. This has been the same with hydroponics for the last several years. Every seed plot has 1 light for water, 1 light for nutrients, 1 light for the plant's health, another for if it is high on either pests or weeds, and the last one tells you if it's ready to be able to harvest. For more information on the status of the plant, you can always use a plant analyzer. These green bad boys here. Just hit them on the plant and it'll tell you everything that can be seen about the plant. All the stats, its age, potency, as well as telling you things like its toxicity levels, water, pests, weeds, nutrition. The biggest new change with hydroponics has been involving the nutrition level. In the old days, you could just take any bottle of nutrients that you could get from the other vending machine, the Nutrimax, and you could take any bottle of nutrients, use 10 units of it, and that would completely fill the hydroponics tray with nutrients. What's been changed is that think of hydroponics trays as being like their own beaker of liquid. It can take any kind of liquid now for a nutrient, but most of them don't actually change anything about the plant's growth. However, this also means that plant trays generally consume a lot more nutrients now. There are ways to work around this. So this is a good time to go and just look at plant stats. For those unfamiliar with plant stats, the wiki has a really good breakdown of how they work, but if you look at this here, potency kind of affects like the strength of the plant. The higher potency you have, any chemicals contained within that plant is going to go and generally produce more when you go and grind it or if you process it in any way. Yield goes and tells you how much of that product it's going to create when it's grown. Maturation speed is going to be how quickly it takes for the plant, how many cycles it's going to take for the plant to fully mature. This is generally also affected on a species basis as well. Production speed is how quickly the plant's age increases as it goes along. Lifespan kind of gives you an idea of how long the plant is going to stay alive, but the thing is that once the plant age exceeds the lifespan, it'll start taking health damage for being just too old, until eventually it will die, so that you don't have functionally immortal plants. There's a new stat here called Instability, and I'm going to get to that later, but generally Instability is what you use to be able to randomize the plant's stats, similar to how mutagen used to work, as well as at high levels of instability you can use that to mutate the plant or give it new random traits. Additionally, weed growth rate, it changes the rate at which you get more weeds growing in the tray, and weed vulnerability, having a more vulnerable plant means that it will suffer from worse effects when there are high weeds, as well as there's a chance that it can die along the way. So, now that I've grown all 3 of the plants from these trays, one of the new mechanics that was added is cross-pollination, where if one plant has higher than 20 instability, it will begin to go and bleed off its chemical traits to adjacent plants, as I have in these 2 trays here. This will cause things like, for example, bananas go and each have, if you go and use your plant analyzer on it, you'll see that it contains banana juice, potassium, vitamins, and nutrients. If you go and then leave a banana tree cross-pollinating with these pumpkins here for long enough, eventually it will go from having just vitamin and nutrients. Once you go and harvest this with the high enough instability, you'll see that now it contains some of the potassium from the banana trees. So this can be used to functionally transfer reagents in the same way that you used to be able to do with the DNA manipulator. Generally, it is a little bit slower, but it does mean that planning out and plotting which plants you want to have where in your setup is more important. So having a good idea of what you want to have as your end goal in mind benefits your ability to go and get a good end result. If you wanted to create plants containing Earth's blood as well as producing mannitol, you should really go and pre-plan out all your component plants ahead of time to be able to go and only have to do a couple crossbreeds, unless you really did want to create everything having that same. One of the benefits of crossbreeding plants is that eventually over time, the plants will begin to go and share stats. In particular, these are the stats that can be shared through cross-pollination. And it's independent of the plant's instability as well. Chemical combination. Now, let's talk about one of the other new mechanics that was recently added to hydroponics, which is plant grafting. Plant grafting uses one of the new tools called secateurs, which, as you see here, it's kind of like shears to an extent. If you've played RuneScape, you probably are familiar with this, and I can certainly tell you that I'm almost certainly mispronouncing it. Every plant that you can grow can be grafted. What happens is, if you're trying to go and graft a plant, the plant has to be harvestable in order to be grafted. Now, with both of these plants being harvestable, you can go and graft from either of these plants, and it will create a plant graft, usually with some interesting variety of plant-like appendages from it. What plant grafting does is it's a way to go and share plant stats. Similar to cross-pollination, you can take two different plants' plant grafts from when they're fully grown, and you can share them between plants to be able to alter their stats. In addition, individual plants each have different plant traits that can be transferred specifically by grafting. This can be anything between plants having perennial growth, and in fact, almost every plant that doesn't have a unique trait will be able to go and transfer perennial growth. Similar to how the DNA manipulator used to be able to, plant grafts can be used to transfer plant traits between each other. This can be anything between perennial growth, bioluminescence, hypodermic needles, and anything that was previously available in the older version of the system. The DNA manipulator is gone, but one of the things you should have is the brand new gene shears. Gene shears can be created from the experimental tools tech node, which is generally obtained 15-20 minutes into the shift. But if you need it still, you can always go and pester the AI or your head of staff to be able to go and get it for you. The genetic plant shears can be used to go and remove traits from plants in the same way that the DNA manipulator used to be able to. Now, let's say that you wanted to go and plant these pumpkin seeds from earlier, the ones that you gave slippery skin and from doing your plant grafting, and it has potassium from the bananas. Let's say you absolutely do not need them to have potassium. So, you can go and use gene shears to be able to go and remove the potassium. Now, it's worth noting that doing this goes and actively damages the plant's health, but it will be able to recover over time. Something that should be considered, however, that this system can take a bit longer to go and actually do. So, improving a plant's endurance is a very effective way to be able to go and remove multiple unnecessary traits from your plant. Since the plant is on low health, this could be fixed by using Live4Z or by going and using cryoxidone from Medbay. Now, one of the other tools that you can go and use, which is not new, and in fact has been around forever but has always been terrible until now, is the floral somatarray. Yes, apparently that is how you pronounce it. Right here, you can obtain this from the Botany node, which generally is harder to go and convince people to get you, but this gun features 3 different modes. The mutation mode of the floral somatarray goes and randomizes the plant's stats, similar to when it has above 20 instability. Using the somatarray on yield mode, all of the bullets fired from it have a chance of increasing the plant's yield. Note, however, that the only time that it has a very high chance of going and improving the yield is if the plant literally has 0 yield. However, this can more easily be done using chemicals. Lastly, the new mode on the floral somatarray is revolution. This uses a significantly larger amount of energy, but it's basically the same as having over 60 instability. When fired, it will cause the plant to instantly mutate. Sometimes there are more than one plant that it can mutate into. Do use caution if you're using that. However, there is a workaround. If you go in melee range, use the floral somata ray on the hydroponics tray itself, you can go and sequence its mutations. This allows you to go and limit it to only be able to mutate into one specific one of its mutations. However, this requires the plant to have a large enough endurance to be able to go and do this. This is very handy for plants like cannabis or tomatoes, considering that they can go multiple different ways. Let's get to brass tacks on being able to mutate plants. Now, obviously, you're not always going to have access to a floral somata ray, so to be able to go and mutate plants early, you need to be able to go and use the new Instability stat to be able to do this. Now, there are multiple distinct tiers that can go and affect how a plant reacts with instability. Between 0 and 19 points, the plant will not go and spread its reagents, as well as it has no chance of its stats changing. If you're happy with how a plant is in terms of its species as well as its general stats, that's where you want to keep the plant. Between 20 and 39 points of instability, the plant will occasionally have its stats mutate. Generally, they can go up and down randomly. For 40 to 59 instability, the plant will mutate more strongly, generally higher or lower changes, both upwards and downwards. Once a plant's instability goes above 60 points, this is where interesting changes start to take place. Above 60%, the plant has a chance to go and mutate its species randomly over time. The percent chance this can happen is the plant's instability divided by 2 as a percentage. So the lowest chance that you actually have every time it goes and increases its age is a 30% chance, with a maximum of 50 if you manage to get your plant up to 100 instability. Keep in mind that you can use the floral somata ray to be able to sequence the plant's mutations and then just passively have it mutate using instability. This is a more efficient way to be able to use the tool as well, as otherwise you're going to go burn through a lot of the weapon's charge. Once a plant reaches above 80 instability, the plant will have a 2% chance every time it grows older to be able to gain a random trait or random reagent within the plant. This is the same effect that strange seeds still has, but this can be done on any plant at any time. Keep in mind, though, that every time that a plant species mutates, its instability is cut in half. So, if your goal is to be able to quickly mutate multiple plants, you have to go and maintain a high level of instability every generation of the plant. There are multiple reagents that can be used to increase and decrease a plant's instability. The earliest reagent you can use for this is Lef4Z, which is available at round start. However, you can also use unstable mutagen. Keep in mind that unstable mutagen and Lef4Z work in different ways. Where Lef4Z, you want to have as much of it in the tray to be able to gain more instability. With unstable mutagen, you want to use just small amounts and just kind of keep re-upping it as you run out. For more information, the wiki contains a table that has all of the reagents contained on it, and also it's a really good table, so shout out to the person who made that table, who I'm putting right here because I totally don't remember, but he did solid work. Additionally, there is another trick for being able to quickly grow your plants. If you go and examine your tray, you'll see that there's 2 different hotkeys you can use on the tray. If you control-click, it will activate a feature called Auto-Grow. You can also alt-click to be able to empty the tray's nutrients, but, I mean, that's more if you just want to go and switch whatever you're growing. If you examine the plant tray, you'll see that there's an option here that says if you control-click the tray, you can activate Auto-Grow. Auto-Grow has a similar effect to how Ambrosia Gaia trays used to work. If you go and use this, you'll see that the plant glows in a similar way. Additionally, you'll see that if you have an unupgraded tray, it will use less reagents per processing tick. What's more, it will also slowly go and add more water to the tray, although you will still need to go and keep re-upping the amount of nutrients within itself. This is generally to be used if you're going to be away from hydroponics for a short period of time, as there is a major downside to using this. Every single tray you use goes and uses 5 kilowatts of power. Now, this doesn't sound like a lot, but so you want to generally limit your usage of this. Not all the time, but if you are running into issues where you're going to need to leave your department, etc., it's good to go and leave it on auto-grow for just short periods of time, if nothing else. What's more, here are several other tricks you can use with the new system to be able to go and more efficiently be able to manage your hydroponics. Compared to the old system, going and having plant tray upgrades is much, much better than it used to be. You can increase your water capacity up to 400, as well as hold up to 50 nutrients within a single tray. What's more, you're going to use less nutrients every time that the tray actually ages. This is very efficient for being able to have a self-sustaining hydroponics. So, if you need to, just pester science or break in, I'm not your boss. What's more, the biogenerator contains a new product, which is namely the plant belt. The botanical belt can hold almost all of the new and old tools that are necessary for being able to go and actually do hydroponics. With all of this in mind, there are several new tricks you can use within the new Botany system to be able to create just as devastating plants as there were before, and in some cases you can do it a lot faster.
Hey, thank you for watching. I realize this video is a heavily edited mess, but I am not exactly a champion of public speaking. That said, if you have any questions or thoughts, feel free to go and join the TG Station Discord, and feel free to hit me up on there, or you can leave a comment in the YouTube comments, but you're probably better off just joining the Discord. Thank you very much.